you're preparing for an English test like the TOEFL or the IELTS, and it's easy to overlook the little things that will help you get the highest band grade in speaking and writing, two of the hardest parts of these tests. Transitions are little words that help you speak and write more clearly by organizing your thoughts. They're like road signs, like a GPS telling your reader or your listener where you're going to go. Without transitions, your writing or your speaking sounds very basic, very boring, and even confusing. People might wonder, where are you even going with this? And I'll tell you something, from having been a TOEFL test grader myself, I know that we look for these things. Does the student make use of transitions? There are so many transitions. There are so many, but if we focus in on 6 in this short time together, this will improve your skills a lot. Now, repeat after me for our 6 transitions. At first, however, therefore, in fact, for example, and overall. Now, why do we use these specifically? I already talked a little bit about why we use transitions in general as a strategy to connect our ideas when we speak and write, but these in particular, at first, I think the word first gives us a clue that this is about talking about in the beginning. Something was a certain way, and we're showing a contrast because later that thing changed. And we'll look at some examples in just a minute. Next, we have however, similar to but. Instead of using but all the time, level up and say however. And there are other options as well, I'll show you in a minute. But however shows contrast between two ideas or things. Next, we have therefore, which shows cause and effect. It's really hot out today, therefore I'm wearing short sleeves. Next, in fact, to emphasize a point. And I love bringing a little drama when I say this transition. In fact, you can pause a little bit after you say it for drama and emphasis. Next, for example, well, obviously this is to show an example. That's an easy one. And finally, overall, which is to conclude or sum up. So that's a great, easy transition to use when you're finishing your speaking or your writing. All right, now what other transition words can you think of? Because maybe those were easy. So do you know other ones? I challenge you to think of at least 2 other ways to say each of these 6 transition words that I just shared with you. Can you? All right, well, you can share them in the comments and let's talk about it. Instead of at first, we could say in the beginning or to start. However, nonetheless, or on the other hand. Imagine you have 2 hands and you're showing a contrast between one and the other. I like that visual. Therefore, or consequently, nice long word. As a result, that one sounds great. I like that one of my favorites. In fact, or indeed, or above all, that has a lot of emphasis. For example, or for instance, or specifically. We need to think about the pronunciation with these longer transition words. Overall, to sum up, ultimately, or in conclusion, or even finally. There are so many transitions, so I don't want to overwhelm us by trying to memorize all of these right this moment, but let's focus in on those 6. Let's make this story better with a few of those transition words. I moved to New York City last year. I was nervous. I learned to use the subway. I made new friends. The city became easier to understand. There's nothing wrong with this story. It's not incorrect, but I think we can agree it's a little bit boring, it's a little bit plain, It sounds kind of basic. I moved to New York City last year. At first, I was nervous. However, I learned to use the subway. In fact, I made new friends quickly. Overall, the city became easier to understand. Much better. Now, as I'm sharing these examples, I want you to repeat after me. If you haven't been repeating, then go back and shadow me, which means to say what you hear as soon as you hear it. Now, let's try an exercise together. I have some fill in the blanks that I think we can enjoy. We have a word bank with our 6 transitions: at first, however, therefore, in fact, for example, and overall. Number 1, what can we put in the blank to make the sentence better? Blank. I loved New York City because of the amazing restaurants. Later, I realized it also has amazing museums, parks, theaters, and cultural events. Next, New York City is exciting and full of opportunities. Blank. It can also be crowded and expensive. So we're showing a contrast. 3, New York City has many famous landmarks. Blank. Visitors can see the Statue of Liberty, Times Square, and Central Park. These are examples of landmarks. Next, New York City has excellent public transportation. Blank. Many people can live there without owning a car. So this is an example, or it could be to emphasize the point. Next, I love New York City. Blank. I think it is one of the most interesting cities in the world. We could be emphasizing, we could be summarizing or concluding. So there's not only just one right answer for each blank. That's why I'm sharing the reasoning behind what we're doing to connect these sentences. And a lot of English learners get confused between first and at first. Here's the difference. First is to show a sequence of events, 1, 2, 3, first, second, third, like a recipe. It is not showing contrast. So if it's just a sequence of events, like tell me your morning routine. First, I wake up. Second, I brush my teeth. Third, I walk my dog, etc. Use first. But if we're showing a contrast, like this thing happened and then later this thing happened, use at first. Now, I want you to create your own example, because here's the thing. When you're watching this video, you're learning with me by listening, by watching. Maybe you were even thinking about your answers to the fill in the blanks activity with me. But how you really learn and remember to use these transitions on your test or your next speaking or writing opportunity is by actively using them, actively through writing and then saying or speaking out loud with your own examples. So now let's create. I challenge you to write your own 3 to 4 sentences using 3 transitions. You can use 1 or 2 or 3 of the 6 we talked about just now. You could challenge yourself to use other ones. It's up to you. And I invite you to leave your examples in the comments, and then we can help each other. This is an amazing community here at Go Natural English, full of people from around the world who are enthusiastic about English fluency. And so I think when you leave your examples here, we can help each other. So before you leave your example, see if there's someone else that you could read and encourage and say, great job. Give them a thumbs up. In fact, while we're giving thumbs up, give the video a thumbs up, comment, like, subscribe. Thank you so much for watching Go Natural English. And by the way, if you want more lessons like this about how to prepare for a test in English as a second language, then check the playlist here on the Go Natural English YouTube channel. And even better yet, check the blog at gonaturalenglish.com, where you can find all my best free lessons in one place. And if I didn't introduce myself yet, I just want to say Thank you. I am Gabby from Go Natural English. Thank you so much for watching. All right, I'll see you next time. Bye for now.